Hello and welcome to Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. And today it's top 10 with friends time. I've got Josh Mcdonald with me. How you doing, Josh?
Great, great.
Cool. So it's really late or early morning out there for you. Hold on. 2:30 in the morning, maybe?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, thanks for joining me, man. So we're going to talk Y&T. And I don't know about you. This was quite hard for me because they've never really had a bad album. They've had a period of albums for me that were my favourite, but they've never had a bad album, have they really?
No, not in my opinion.
Nah. So you can pull something from all of them. I mean, they used to be called Yesterday and Today, first two albums, 1976, 1978. Then they changed to Y&T in 1981. And obviously their first couple of albums, we were talking about this earlier, were different. You know, it probably suited that time in the 70s, mid 70s. And then they got more melodic during the 80s, during that sort of, that period of MTV. You know, they was probably roped in with all those bands as well. And then their last few albums have actually gone a bit heavier again, as you know, as far as I can see. But we've got to talk about Y&T and definitely Dave Meniketti, possibly one of the most underrated musicians ever in metal,
Yep.
rock and metal. He's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah. I mean, you're a guitar man, ain't you? I mean, he's a great guitarist, mate.
Oh, I'm not a shredder and I never was, but I always like to toy around with the rhythm guitar and I watched a lot of lead guitar players and I'm always amazed to this day when somebody can shred. And it's just not so hard to do. And Dave is just a master, absolute master at his craft. I kind of look at him a lot like Michael Sweet. If you talk to Michael Sweet or if you talk to Dave Meniketti, they're mostly going to tell you they're mostly guitar players first and then singers. You know, that's what they do is they're both fabulous singers, as you know. But especially Dave in particular with his, I mean, he could go on, like I said, maybe 10, 15 minutes with a guitar shred. And I imagine maybe that had something to do with record sales or whatever, because if you go to see a Y&T show live, you know, he'll play for 2-3 hours of just guitar playing, you know, the outros, intros, just crazy licks, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. The guy's unbelievable, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got a great voice as well. And I don't even know how someone can play guitar and sing at the same time, to tell you the truth. but I mean, to play guitar like Dave Meniketti does and to sing like he does, he's got a brilliant voice, and absolutely sort of soulful. Can be a bit, you know, he's got that sort of, I don't know, that sort of Coverdale-y type. I'm not saying he's like David Coverdale, but he's got that sort of smoothness to his voice. Oh, he's got a brilliant voice. And so, like I said, so underrated. And they actually, I was like looking at this, they only sold 4 million albums worldwide for the whole time, you know, from 1976 up till, well, they done another album in 2010. That was the last album. But only 4 million. And they could have been huge. Honestly, some of the songs.
Yeah, there's 3 albums that and I'm not going to say it because it might refer to my top 10 list, but there's 3 albums that I consider. I mean, arguably there's no fillers. I mean, you could, if you broke it down and looked at the top songs, of course, yeah. There's no doubt it's gonna be there's a bridge between the best songs and the worst ones on those. But with 3 of the albums, it's hard for me to find anything I don't really just that I dislike, you know.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that they might be, because we're real melodic rock and metal guys. I've got a feeling they might be in that same. The albums might be the same for us. I've sort of got. For me, there was 4. I feel like the same like you do about 4 albums, but you know that is going to resonate in with our lists, obviously. So, formed in Oakland, California, this band. So, like I said, we've got 12 albums to choose from, these tracks. We don't know each other's lists. We're going to run through 10 to 1, take turns. You go first, then I go after. And then we've got some honourable mentions. I've got a few, to tell you the truth. I've probably got, let's have a look. I couldn't stick at 5. I got about 7 or 8 just to name, off of the rest of the albums that didn't quite make the list, but it was quite a hard list for me to choose what was actually going to be in the 10. It really was. So, okay then, mate, if you're ready, we're going to go from number 10. Your number 10.
Okay, yeah, I just want to add one more thing before I get to the 10th. One of the reasons I love your channel, and I wanted to help with this channel and everything, is I also want to expose bands that should have been one of the biggest bands of the world. I absolutely love bands that are underrated, that the music, you talk to a musician anywhere and they always mention the players in the band or that band, even though the mass public doesn't, buy it all up. The musicians know it. They just know it. And I think there was a book, somebody said they're in the book of Motley Crue wrote a book and the Metallica book. And I remember they mentioned that they both opened for Y&T back in the day. And I think that's when Y&T, remember they were Yesterday and Today back in the 70s, and then in the 80s they were Y&T. So I'm imagining that would have probably been when they turned into Y&T on the Sunset Strip, because them, Quiet Riot, and Van Halen were the big guns back in that era right there. So I just want to throw that in there, how seminal of a band this is that we're talking about.
They was always, for me, they always felt like they was teetering with nearly getting there big time. Must have been so frustrating for the band, because I heard as well that, how big Bon Jovi were in the 80s. I heard that, like, John Bon Jovi, he was fearful of, like, Dave Meniketti and Y&T, thinking they were the band that were gonna be bigger than them, but never quite was. So they probably saw the talent as musicians. These other bands saw the talent of Dave Meniketti and Y&T, but it's a shame. But I mean, they're still going now. They're still playing live. I haven't bought an album out for 10 years, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's great when these bands are still going. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is what it is. But it's just something that's always you want to throw out there, and maybe Dave will look at the video one day and say, "Wow, I still got some rabid fans out there that know how good we were." So
yeah, definitely, mate. Okay, then, mate. Right, you're number 10 if you're ready.
So number 10, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, like I said, I had a really tough time with this list. I could have switched it, but I always with Y&T, I like the combination of the blues rock that they do and the melody. So I was like, which songs are gonna most represent that? And so number 10, I'm gonna go with on the Mean Streak album, the title track, Mean Streak, and simply just a classic tune. I don't know if it was a major hit or not or anything like that, but I know it was a single, and the riff is absolutely magic. It's just it's got that that AC/DC, that bluesy, I call it sleaze rock or blues rock, just that bluesy guitar. And
you're right. You're right about that riff, man. That riff at the beginning, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And just like with any song with Dave Meniketti or Y&T, there's always a great solo on, and the vocal and the great chorus, outstanding chorus to the song. So,
mate, that's a brilliant choice. Absolutely brilliant choice. Right, my number 10, and I must admit, we done the Scorpions together, didn't we? And I said to you about how good they did ballads, and I think Y&T are definitely one of them bands that their ballads are right up there with the best. So it's a bit of a later one for me. This album I liked, but I don't know, it became the sort of period where I left Y&T for a little bit. It's off the 10 album, and it's Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. It's like, what a brilliant ballad. Just sounded like their stuff from the earlier stuff as well. Great vocal, as usual, by Dave Meniketti. I mean, I just love his voice. He reminds me of another guy, and I don't know if you've heard of this band, Josh, called White Sister. They brought 2 albums out in the 80s, and very similar sort of voice to him. And I just love it. I love it when he does a ballad. He's so heartfelt, if you know what I mean. Puts everything into it. as long vocally as well as on the guitar. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, mate. I think it was a single, but it was probably a difficult time for the band because it came out, when was it? 1990, just about the time when grunge was just about to come on the scene. So right at the end of that, the 80s. So Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, mate, is my number 10.
Oh, outstanding choice. Great song. So for my number 9, I went back and forth with this, but I kept listening to this one over, and I was like, I gotta put this in my top 10. I can't stop. It's so catchy. The chorus is so catchy, and that's off the Black Tiger album, and the song is "Don't Want to Lose You." Don't want to lose.
Man, I love
just,
that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is so catchy. I'm a sucker for a good hook, and a great chorus, and of course the riffs and the solo, and the melody. And this song is just full of melody, full of harmony, just classic Y&T. Great riff too.
What the verses on that, man, are so catchy.
Yeah.
Like all the way through it, but the verses especially are absolutely brilliant. And that's not one of them songs you hear there, Dave Meniketti's hands going up and down the strings. I love that sometimes. We used to hear that sometimes on the guitar. Absolutely brilliant choice, mate. Love that song. I think some of these we might clash in a little bit, few of these, but right, okay. My number 9 is off Mean Streak, and I've chosen Lonely Side of Town.
Oh.
Yeah, love it, man. Love the little melody going over it from the outset. Sort of, I suppose you could look at it a little bit of a ballad. I don't know, but it's definitely more one of the mellower songs. It's weird. The first I heard of Y&T was when I was probably it was after the In Rock We Trust album. So I must have been about 14, 15. And my brother borrowed a load of Y&T albums off of someone he knew. It was only the 3 albums. It was Black Tiger, Mean Streak, and In Rock We Trust. And he taped his favourite songs off of them albums, and then I heard the cassette and I was just blown away. And that was one of them, Lonely Side of Town. That was one of his favourite songs. And it is still to me to this day. It's a brilliant song, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Love it. That's my number 9.
Fantastic choice. Love that song. So for my number 8, you said we're going to clash. Well, boom, right here off the 10 album, which is actually my favorite Y&T album, and it's the same one as your number 10. Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Summertime Girls was the first song I heard. That was the song that it's their biggest hit. But I remember right there at the late 80s when I was really getting into hard rock and glam and all that stuff. I remember seeing the video on Headbangers Ball for Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And the look of the band, the sound, the choruses. I'm not sure if they brought in Diane Warren or Jim Balance on that, but I know they brought in one of those, a Desmond Child type songwriter. I think for hardcore fans, it was a little tough to swallow. But for me, coming in, I didn't know a whole lot about the band at that time, and it just hooked me. I mean, the hooks are so excellent. I honestly think if that was released a couple years before that, like 1988, that would have probably been a number 1 hit. It's absolutely one of the best ballads of the 80s, in my opinion. I mean,
it's great, mate.
Just outstanding. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they made an improvement. I don't know about you on the album before. I mean, they brought Contagious. I really loved Down for the Count, and I know this might give me list away a little bit, but I loved Down for the Count. And I thought when Contagious came out, I was a little bit disappointed. I thought I think they were just trying to, and they didn't need to, sound like other people on that album. The Offset heard sounds of Bon Jovi and stuff like that. And I thought, well, you don't even need to sound like Bon Jovi. You're a great band. But then they brought 10 out, and I thought it was an improvement, on Contagious. But no, that's a great song, mate. As we both agree on that. So that's brilliant. Right. My number 8. I am at number 8. I'm not going to get confused this time, hopefully. He's off the Down for the Count album. So I just spoke about that album. I love it. And it's Anytime at All. Anytime at All. I love it. It's another one of those sort of, it's sort of, they're really good at sort of rocking songs, but being so melodic at the same time, and that one's so catchy again. I don't know if it was a single. I think it was. But really, it was just everything I wanted in the 80s out of a melodic rock band. And as usual, we're going to repeat ourselves all the way through this about the guitar in and the vocals, but all over this typical Y&T, 80s Y&T, Anytime at All is a fantastic track, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Nice. So for my number 7, I'm going to go from the In Rock We Trust album. Great record. And the song Don't Stop Running. Just outstanding, track. It's just Y&T, when you talk about signature sounds for any band, Scorpions or any of these great 80s bands, 70s bands that we love, that's one of the songs I think of when I think of Y&T is Don't Stop Running. And yeah, as you said, the usual great vocals, hooks, it's choruses, verses, solos, everything is just first rate, just absolutely outstanding.
And you know what? That song for me, it's funny you come up with that one there. It's so similar, but not in a bad way. It's got the same sort of groove as Anytime at All. It's got that same sort of tempo, same sort of catchy chorus. It really reminds me of Anytime at All. And I was I was thinking of both of those tracks when I was thinking of Anytime at All, and I was thinking Don't Stop Running, but I won't give any more away, but I love that. I love that song as well. It's brilliant. Well, my number 7, mate, we're going back a bit now to Black Tiger and Hell or High Water.
Oh,
I mean, man, it's just, this sort of reminded me of, as a Kiss song, this reminds me of. I don't know why. Off of the Creatures of the Night album, it was a single. Is it Love It Loud? That sort of shout it out, sort of, anthem. It really reminds me of that. But, oh man, I mean, when you get just like that, and then it comes in with Dave Medicetti's voice over just the drums and just the chords smashing over, mate. Hell or High Water, gang vocals, man. It's just, I love it. I absolutely love that song. And yet again, the solo, it's sort of that stuttering sort of with the chords stuttering, and him, he's a real guitar hero, man. And I've never known, like, when a guitar solo comes in, he does it like no other guitarist did. He comes in at full throttle and he hit you with something so high, and it's like, wow, it just makes you, so much melody in those solos. And I always say, he can write a song within a solo. His melody in a solo is just, remember every solo he does, Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's my number 7, mate. Hell or High Water.
Oh, you could sing along to, when the average listener could just sing along to the guitar lines. That's saying something. That song almost made my top 10, but the reason why it didn't is because of it's a lot more bluesy. It's very, very bluesy. And it's got melody for sure, but it tends to be more in that blues sleaze rock kind of thing for me.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Outstanding song. I mean, so for me, my number 6, what's funny is this song. I actually, when I first heard it, going back through the Y&T catalog, I kind of didn't really like the chorus. I kept listening to this song over and over, and I was like, there's something off with the chorus. I love the song, but something's up with the chorus, and that's off the Earthshaker album. And the song is I Believe in You. And it's a ballad, and it's just, it's an epic. I mean, I think this song is about 7 minutes long. And I think you mentioned that you love epics, songs that are through a journey. And this song is an absolute journey. It's just starts off slow and, picks up, and it's just got that dynamics to it. But it's just the only little, like I said, critique I could say about that song is the chorus. And the way they sing it, it doesn't have that later on when you listen to Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, or you listen to From the Rain, or any of these ones with the real big, choruses, it kind of fails in comparison that way. But I still just, I mean, and I just wrote this down. This is absolutely, in my opinion, one of the greatest guitar solos of all time. I mean, it's got to be up there. And the outro, it's my favorite outro guitar solo of all time. The solo at the end, I don't think I've ever heard anything like it in my life. I
was listening to this because I've been building up, obviously listening to these songs again, trying to get my list together. And I was listening to I Believe in You yesterday. And I totally agree with you on the chorus. I think that if they did this song maybe 6 or 7 years later, they would have had some real good harmonizing there with that chorus. It would have filled it up, that chorus. I know what you mean. It's the actual I Believe in You bit, the backing vocals. It's like there's only 2 of them doing them. And it could do with some real uplifting in harmony. But I think also the production didn't help. In those first 3 albums, the production wasn't as good as it was going to be. But if you get a chance, because I used to have the album, I don't know if you have it, Open Fire, the live album from Y&T. Now, if you listen to I Believe in You on that, that's a much better version when they do it live. It's unbelievable. Have a listen to that, mate. Have a look at them on YouTube or whatever. But I mean, obviously, that was a great live album, and it seems like they got everything right that was wrong about that song when they did it all those years ago. Superb song, though, mate. Oh. Absolutely brilliant. Right, my number 6. I'm going to the In Rock We Trust album. And it's a bit of a ballad, I suppose. And I'll Keep on Believing. Do you know? Oh. So, yeah, as you can see, well, I'm a melodic heavy rock fan, and this has melody all running through it. It's so catchy. It's sort of got so much atmosphere. There's something about that album. I loved it. I remember buying the album. I remember picking it up in the record store and with the robot type bloke on the front with a guitar and all that. But I just love it. It's so catchy again. It's what they did. I think it was another single. I'm not sure, but it sounds like a single if it wasn't. Just another brilliant track, mate, full of melody and catchy stuff. Brilliant. Again from Y&T, that's my number 6.
Wow. So I'm at 5, right? So 5. Yeah. I was getting lost in it. Yeah. So right, 5. We always talk about production, and yeah, it's just like the first 3 records, whether it was Struck Down, the self-titled, and Earthshaker. Yeah, great songs, but yeah, it's just the production. It just sounds like it's a live recording almost, and there's just not. It just doesn't have that fullness that you don't get to hear every instrument, like you would on, or Black Tiger or Mean Streak, or what's the other one that In Rock We Trust. So so number 5. Again, I love the 10 record, whether the hardcores don't like it or not. I absolutely love this record. It's a blend to me of both the old days and the new, and the song is Come In From the Rain. Oh, yeah. God, I love this song. I struggled putting it number 5. It could easily been number 1 or 2. Yeah. Just, I mean, outstanding ballad, vocal, everything we've talked about, the solo, just.
Yeah, those 2 songs, we both meant that one and Don't Be Afraid of the Dark are massive songs. Yeah. Absolutely huge songs. Brilliant choice. Love that song, man. Right, my number 5, you've already chosen, so that I'm not going to talk about it too much, and that's Mean Streak. I just love it. I just love it. It's a real rocking song. Dave Medicetti's vocals, he's got that about it after he finishes it. We've got a mean streak. He does a weird sort of hush on his voice. It's brilliant, man. He puts so much into every song. I just love it. It's like you said, the solo on that as well. I think that's the one. When it comes in, it literally lifts. Like, it's just mad. It's just mad. What a brilliant musician Dave Menicetti is. But that's my number 5, mate. So we've both chosen that one. There's 2 we've chosen the same, I think, so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, on Mean Streak, I had a hard time at the end when with his enunciation, Mean Streak. It sounds like it says Mean
Street.
Streak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think he's got that sort of. He wanted to put like a on his voice, you know. I don't know.
okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. It does sound like Streech when he says
Yeah,
it.
it's, just wanted to throw that in there because I was like, what?
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. I don't know if it's the effect they had on the studio on the vocals. I think he's just got a bit of a to his voice at the end of the sentences. But what a great track! What a brilliant track! That's my number 5, mate. You're number 4.
Yeah, so number 4 for me, this is from the In Rock We Trust album. It's probably my favorite ballad actually by them. If I had to pick one ballad, and it's This Time. I just absolutely outstanding, epic chorus.
Yeah,
Just
everything
beautiful.
about that. Brilliant song, mate.
It's
Yeah.
one of those, there are certain songs, and this goes for pretty much any band. It'll have a great start to it, and then I hope it keeps going that direction, whether it's in a major chord or a minor. And sometimes it'll start off major and then it'll go to minor, and I'm like, darn it, you know what I mean? But this is one of those songs that all the way through, I'm glad. I love the choices. Keep going with that. I love the tempo, love the style. Everything is just exactly how I hear it in my head, how I want it to go.
Oh,
And
man.
that was put number 1. It's such a great song.
It's a brilliant song. Even the weird bit at the end where the chords play out and fade out. Mary sort of drags it. It's weird. It's like a really weird ending, but you just think everything about that song was perfect. Love that song, man.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant song. My number 4 is off Down for the Count, back to that album again. And it's the last track on the album, Hands of Time.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man. I just love it. I just love it. From that little sort of bit of guitar that is meant to sound like a sort of a clock ticking, if you know what I mean. And there's even a backwards bit on the end, isn't there? Like reverses at the end. But another ballad, but an epic one. I think it's about 6 or 7 minutes long, with another brilliant solo by Meniketti. I know we're becoming a bit boring now talking about his guitar solos, but they are. Oh man, I love Hands of Time. It's sort of, it reminds me of another song that I'll talk about later. It's got that real epic sort of feel to it, and it's weird, isn't it? They do epic ballads. There's not many bands that do epic ballads. You either have a ballad or you have an epic song. They sort of mix the both, and you get like an epic ballad. They're one of the bands that can really do it. And like we said about the Scorpions earlier, they're another epic ballad sort of band, aren't they? They can be epic with the ballad at the same time. Amazing songwriting, absolutely amazing. That's my number 4, mate. Hands of Time.
No, I agree, and it's rare for me because I'm the rocker guy. I'm usually the guy that goes for the fast, the heavy, but I can't pass when a song's better. And we have to admit that to ourselves. And with these 2 bands that we've just discussed, they're just, and the dynamic songs where they start off slow and then all of a sudden they get into the kind of like a holiday. The songs like that, slow, and then just all of a sudden build up. I absolutely love that. So for my number 3, it's from, again, Black Tiger. It's one of my favorite records by them, and the song is Forever. I just adore the song. Absolutely adore Forever. I just, perfection. Nothing else I can say.
We talked about classic guitar solo earlier on the I Believe in You. This Forever's got it, hasn't it? Absolutely brilliant song. Oh. Excellent choice, mate. Excellent choice. Well, my number 3 is your number, I think it was your number 4, and that's This Time.
Wow, yeah.
Off of In Rock We Trust, yeah. Perfect song. Really sort of sad sounding, melancholy. I just love it. It's just, it just sums them up with their ballads. Absolutely perfect song, mate. You said everything you should have said about it anyway, so that's my number 3 this time.
Yeah, it's outstanding. So my number 2, getting real close to the end here. I could have put this one number 1 as well. I think the first 5 or 6 songs on my list could have been number 1. They're so close. But this song is the last track. You talk a lot about having great enders for albums. This is a classic from the 10 album. This is Surrender. Just absolutely 1980s to a T. If I had to do a top 10, what do the 80s sound like? Surrender would be on there.
Yeah.
And, I absolutely love the cover, the beautiful lady on the cover. And, Y&T was just, they wrote a lot of songs just about, sex and love and relationships. And, the lyrics weren't too deep, but they were meaningful, for the 80s. They were so 80s.
Yeah.
The tone and the guitars. And so, yeah, Surrender. Absolutely love that song.
I think you could lyrically, you could really relate to them because they were quite simple with the lyrics. You understood what was going on. Like you said, they talked about partying a lot of the time, or they talked about women, but it was you could really relate to what was going on because it had happened in all our lives, relationships. Even the one we was talking about, Hands of Time, earlier, it's like cling to the past or you'll be left behind, very simple stuff that's true, and I think that was what was cool about them. You could relate to them, A brilliant choice though, mate. Brilliant choice. My number 2 is a closer as well. Closes an album off. It's an epic. And that's off of Black Tiger, and that's Winds of Change.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, man. This is a bit like, this is what I said. Hands of Time reminds me a little bit of Winds of Change as well. It closes the album off. It's a good 5.5, 6, 7 minutes long. I'm not really sure. It's got epic guitaring. It's got absolutely a classic sound to it. They're both. It's just a brilliant song, Winds of Change, and that's the one, isn't it, where the song almost stops, and then the guitar solo comes in from Meniketti like out of nowhere, and it's so just hits you. You're like, wow, so underrated, man. This guy. That's my number 2, mate. Winds of Change.
Oh, brilliant song. I almost had that. An absolutely outstanding track. Sound like a broken record. So for my number 1, boy, this was a tough one, and had to, spend a lot of time listening to the tracks, but there's no way I couldn't put this number 1. I just think it's one of the songs, like I said, that I think identifies the band. It's got the dynamics that I love. To me, it's the, for Scorpions, it'd be Holiday. This song would be, and it's off Mean Streak, and the song is Midnight in Tokyo.
Yeah. Just
unreal song. I don't know how it wasn't a number 1 track.
Yeah.
Number 1 on every Billboard. Just one of the best songs of the 1980s. I would argue it to a T. The musicianship is second to none. The vocals, and I think you'd mentioned that you love songs that start off with a guitar solo, and this song starts off with that dual, melody guitar. It's just so gorgeous. The tone to it. That's another thing I didn't mention about Y&T is the tone. I love the guitar tone. Just absolutely outstanding on this.
It's brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant choice, mate. I love Midnight in Tokyo. My number 1 is one that you've already had. So we did talk about it a little bit, man. That's Forever. I just love Forever. It's just the way it grooves along on those verses. It's just a fantastic song. And I just think, a bit like you said, it sort of sums up, this is the sort of song that sums up Y&T for me. Meniketti at his best vocally. It's not, while we can, let's not forget to mention the rest of the band, obviously, because we're so focused on how great Meniketti is, of course, aren't we? But you are, he's such an outstanding part of the band. Obviously, he's the main band. But I didn't even know that 2 of the members, the original members, have died. I was only reading about it earlier on today, and I was like, looking up a bit about the band, because I always remember, like, when we talk about the main members, the ones through the 80s, where we're obviously the most fans for. Phil Kennemore, is it, on bass? He died in 2011. And Joey Alves, who was the other guitarist, he died in 2017. So, I mean, and then you had Jimmy DeGrasso, the drummer. He's still around, but not with the band. I don't think. I think the whole band have new members now. But they, you know, that's the trouble. They were sort of forgotten about because Meniketti was such a figure of what he could do. It's sort of easy to forget the rest of the band, but they played a great part in that, all that, you know. I know there's different members now, but they're the ones I remember, you know, in the band. But he was such a brilliant musician that you sort of sometimes forget, don't you? But they crafted these songs together, and Forever just about sums everything up about it. Storming bass line on that, you know, excellent drums keeping it all together. But Meniketti's guitar playing on that, it's just unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so not a shame, because he's obviously, you know, he's done all right, but never quite as good as, they didn't hit the heights that they should have done. No way. No way. Well, that's it, mate. Yeah, that's a brilliant. I think we clashed on. Hold on. Maybe four out of 10. I think we were the same.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I think along the same lines as. So I've got some honourable mentions. Do you want to do yours first, mate? Just by the title, what album they're off, maybe?
I want to add one more thing in. I did find out also that Leonard Hayes, the original drummer, he passed away. So they've lost three. They've lost three to that band. So Dave is the only one left. And from what I remember, about 10 years ago ish, when he died, Phil died, they were talking about those two were kind of the dynamic duo, Kennemore and Meniketti. You know, with his bass playing and backing vocals. So in a way, they were sort of like, you know, Michael Anthony with Van Halen with the lead singer.
Well, Meniketti, man, he wouldn't have had no idiots in the band, would he? He would have had he would have had the best. It's just hard. It's just hard sometimes, isn't it? It's like you said, Michael Anthony. He's sometimes forgotten about because of Eddie Van Halen. You know, it's just strange, isn't it? But when there's a focal point like that, it's hard to think of anyone else in the band. But great musician, absolutely brilliant, mate.
Yeah. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. He must have been before Jimmy DeGrasso. Then he was before him, that drummer.
Yeah, he's the original guy. And you know, I don't know. I need to check this out. I hope I'm not wrong, but it said that Steve Smith from Journey was on the 10 album. He actually did most of the drumming, it says, on the 10 record, and Jimmy DeGrasso only did 3 songs, which I found weird because I thought Jimmy DeGrasso was in the videos, and I thought he played throughout that record. And
you look, man, anything can happen in around about that time. Look at Vinnie Vincent. Apparently he was on the Creatures of Night album, but he was not on the cover, and I don't know how true any of that is. You know, it's just his art. Anyone could do anything back then, but you wouldn't get away with it now.
Yeah.
Right then, mate. Your honourable mentions, if that's all right.
Yeah, you know, with this band being such a underrated group, I want to get as much out there as I can so people can check it out. So I listed actually 10 this time. So 10 honorable mentions. You know, so I'll just go through them real quick. I put She's Gone off the 10 album. Love that track. And pretty much the whole album could be honorable mentions, you know, so I just couldn't fit them all in, but love She's Gone. I've got Contagious off the Contagious record. I've got Temptation, which is a great ballad off of Contagious. I've got Sentimental Fool from Mean Streak. Love that track. One you mentioned in your top 10, Lonely Side of Town off Mean Streak. Absolutely outstanding song. Another one that a lot of the fans love that I had to put it thrown in my top 10 after listening to it several times is Rescue Me. Love Rescue Me off of the Earthshaker record. I've got Winds of Change, and you had that one in your top 10. Outstanding track off of the Black Tiger record. And I've got Open Fire. Love Open Fire. That song is perfect live, in my opinion. That's got that live feel to it. And that's off the Black Tiger record. I've got Hell or High Water, which was in your top 10. Just love that song. And I've also got Hands of Time. Hands of Time off of the Down for the Count record. So whatever I didn't put in my top 10, it's pretty close to what you had there.
That's great,
Yeah.
mate. Talking about Open Fire as well. When you have a listen to that live album on YouTube or whatever you do, called Open Fire, the live album. That track as well is the opening song, I think, on that album. It's explosive, even more than a lot more that is in the studio. Even though their production wasn't bad, I think it could have been better. In the 80s, I think it was okay, but you really hear on that live album there's some real energy in it, in that Open Fire song. Have a listen to it, mate, later on. Right.
Definitely.
Okay, right. I've sort of listed mine because I was going through each album from the earliest ones to the last one. So sort of, in order as such. I didn't have anything off the first two albums. A bit like you. I don't know. I just couldn't. I was listening to. They weren't bad, but I think, they turned into something a lot better for me. So I've got Rescue Me off Earthshaker. I've got I Believe in You off Earthshaker. I've got Don't Stop Running off of In God We Trust. In Rock We Trust. In God We Trust. I'm talking Striper now. Look, what's the matter with me? So, yeah, Don't Stop Running, which was one of your choice. In Rock We Trust off that one. I've got In the Name of Rock off of Down for the Count, the opening track. God, it's got so much energy in that song. It's really exciting. I've got Face Like an Angel off of Down for the Count. Sort of slower, sort of ballady types of thing. Off of Contagious. I've only got one track off Contagious, because I thought I was a bit disappointed in the album, but I was listening to it again yesterday. I wasn't as disappointed as I was back then. I don't know. I was a little bit in Contagious when it came out, but Fight for Your Life is a really good track off there. And off the newest album, I know it's 10 years old now, I'm Coming Home off of Face Melter, which has got some real similarities to Forever. So, that's sort of got that same sort of groove to it. I think that's trying to bring that classic sort of sound back for that album a little bit. Didn't quite hit the mark for me, the Face Melter album. I thought it was good, but, I think when we're looking for our classic Y&T, mate, we both looked in the same place this time, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's my honourable mentions all done. So, great band, man. Anyone who's watching this video, I'm sure who watch my channel probably know who Y&T are. Might not have checked them out how they should have done, but hopefully after us talking about them and how good, especially Dave Meniketti is as a guitarist and a singer. If you like your melodic rock and you like it quite heavy at times, but so catchy, full of melody and guitar heroics, real heroic, we're talking here. The best. One of the best guitarists I've ever heard. Absolutely brilliant. So
it's a guitar. They're a guitar player's dream band. If you're a guitar player out there, you haven't checked these guys out. This is the band for you. I mean, he's a musician's musician. You talk about guys that are just not out there for the fame or anything. They just love to play. Just absolutely love to. And you could tell in Dave, everything about Dave, that he's all about the music, and there's no BS with this band. It's just straight out rock and roll, melody, everything that you want. And like I said, I was disappointed with Contagious too. I think it was overproduced and just had maybe too much layering or too much dubbing or something was going on. It like it was a copycat of some 80s bands when they had their own identity. They don't. Yeah. I know they were going through some record label issues. I know they switched record labels 2 or 3 times, and I don't know if that had something to do with it. Where I hear this a lot with bands sometimes, is they'll put out a record that you're just going, what is going on with that? And they're maybe having some trouble with the record label, and the label wants them to sound a certain way, or
it's like I'm saying that album came out in, was it 87? Something like that. Yeah. So obviously Bon Jovi, were about, and that first song off Contagious, is it the actual song Contagious? And it basically has got that "You Give Love a Bad Name" whoa sort of in it, and I was like, what's going on? I was thinking like Y&T are so good. I like them so much more than Bon Jovi, and they were trying to do something that Bon Jovi did. I did like Bon Jovi at the time. There was like 3 or 4 albums that I liked in that period. But they didn't need to do. Y&T didn't need to do that. They were their own band, and there was literally a few songs. There was one that sounded like Def Leppard on there. There was, you know, it was like they were trying to try and be as big as these bands were, because they never probably made it as quite big as they should have done. And then they thought, well, we're doing something wrong. Let's do something that they're doing. But it was probably one of the worst decisions they made, because their other albums were miles better. But, you know, just one of those things. They were a great band. So, you know, hopefully people will check them out after watching our video if they haven't so far. So, okay, mate, any last words from you before we go?
No, I just want to, like I said, spread the love for Y&T and what they were all about, and say rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen. Absolutely gutted by his death, and everyone around the world, especially here in Southern California. He was a big time hero to us, a great guy, just a musician's musician, and there'll never be another one. Never be another one. So. Yeah,
and if everything goes fine, we're going to be doing a bit of a Van Halen tribute anyway in the next few days. We're going to be looking at discussing the classic albums. We're going to be doing the Van Halen debut album. So you're going to be on that with me anyway, Josh. So yeah, so such a shame, and we obviously talk about that a lot more in the next few days. But it's been great having you on, mate. It's been a real pleasure again. So if anyone, let us know what you thought of our videos and our picks for Y&T. Are you a Y&T fan? If you're not, I don't understand why not, but you should be. And if you want to subscribe, please press the red button, bottom right-hand corner.